402-328-2878 for your chance to score with Coca-Cola.
Come one, come all to a week fully loaded with Baptistness. It's guaranteed to be an epic experience. The National Congress of Incorporated Spiritual Baptist Organizations of Trinidad and Tobago presents our Diamond Jubilee 75th Anniversary Spiritual Baptist Liberation Week celebrations 2026. Under the theme, Let Freedom Reign, the official launch of the Spiritual Baptist Liberation Center and Entrepreneurial Village. There will be lots of food, drinks, clothing, drums on sale, free doctor consultations, giveaways, and lots more. This will be followed by a night service entitled From Prohibition to Promise, in honor of the men and women who carried the faith whose shoulders we build upon. Tuesday, March 24, 2026, a night of sacred strength and nurture. Wednesday, 25th March 2026, night of praise and triumph. See the members of the Spiritual Baptist faith exhibit true worship in hymns and sankis, prayers, adoption, the drums. Learn their history as they take us back to their roots. Psalm 100 says, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever." Don't miss out. All these events will be memorable and unforgettable. Happy Spiritual Baptist Shelter Liberation Week.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
All right. Good afternoon to you and welcome to the Third Umpire. So I am going to skip out on the ad this evening. My name is Samoya Sandyford. As you know, you are listening to the Third Umpire and we are getting started a bit late today. So my apologies, our apologies on behalf of the members of the team who are out on matters of state this evening. So we have a lot to talk about, and before I get into it, I must thank the owners and management of this great station, Mr. Neil, IWER George, and Mrs. George, as well as the fantastic director that we have here that's assisting me, all of the staff members that are usually so kind to us. So we thank you very much. And to our listeners, thank you so much for continuing to support. So I have not been here with you all for the past week or so, and today I am filling in for our guys, Stephen Matteson. I just want to say good afternoon to them. Stephen Matteson, Ronaldo Rollock, and Mr. Selvon Mitchell. Good afternoon to all of you wherever you are. I'm holding on the fort just for this evening, and hopefully I will be able to continue. All right. So good evening again to each and every one of you. And today I want to just talk about something really quickly. As we have entered the last 2 hours for this particular program. And I want to ask this evening, are we entering into an era where the people who truly care are disappearing? I am asking this question in the context of the school violence that continues to be on the rise. Now, today I saw on social media where the Minister of Homeland Security was giving an address, and he was saying that there have been quite a number of charges, about 19 or so I believe he called, coming out of the school violence issues in terms of his ministry's attempt to curb school violence that's happening. We have seen it escalate to the point of children getting seriously harmed. We had an incident of bullying where some students were harassing a student because he didn't have the particular means in terms of the types of sneakers that was, I would like to believe, acceptable. And as we are approaching the examination period for students throughout Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, by extension, it begs the question what our teachers are facing. The teachers also having their own challenges in terms of the negotiations, their plea for increase of wages, and the question again is being asked, is the era of people who care dying? And this is not to criticize the teaching community or the educators who support and who serve our nation's youth, but rather this is an honest and open conversation about what is working and what is not. And of course, as parents, myself included, we are not exempt from this process of a caring era. We have to get to a place where we think about this from an honest perspective and realize that clearly something isn't working. We have reached to the stage where we are utilizing law enforcement in our nation's schools. The school system, the education system, which is supposed to be one of the safe spaces and places for our youth. And the question is being asked, what is happening? We keep asking what is wrong with the children, but perhaps the better question is what's missing around them. We have so many questions with so few answers, and it is generating an emotional response, more of an emotive response, where people say, on one hand, put the bad ones out, expel them, put them in jail or whatever the case may be, let them face the consequences of their actions. But then we have another bracket of society that is saying everyone deserves a second and a third chance, and that's not the solution. And if that is not the solution, then what is? I continue to ask questions like these because we have people now suffering so much coming out of traumatic situations that stem from schools. I actually had an opportunity to speak with a parent who discovered her child being severely beaten and had to be taken to the hospital some years ago, and that was one of the most traumatic experiences for her as a parent. So to imagine how the child would feel and having to go back to school because the parent is of lower means and is not able to readily transfer the child out of one school to the next. So we really have to think about this thing holistically, and not just for the benefit of one set who only finds themselves in a remorseful position when the damage is already done. So as we approach exams, where all of these mounting pressures are happening for SEA, for CXC, for CAPE exams and so on, we need to truly question what are we doing that is helping. And we should also understand that helping doesn't mean taking away the challenge, because how else will we expect growth, I should say? How else are we going to create young persons who are readily available to be contributors to the society and not nuisances? How are we going to effectively make that happen in the context of everything that is happening around us? So, school violence, it didn't rise overnight. It grew in the gaps that we ignored. It grows when the teacher sends information home and the parents say, "Tell Miss I say X, Y, and Z." It grows when the teacher calls for a parent meeting and parents decide not to show up. It grows when we as parents refuse to discipline our children to the extent that they could get to come last in tests with no effort and still be rewarded with brand name sneakers and book bags and the like. Because what the message that we are sending is that you don't have to do anything. Because you are my child, I will give you what you want. So it's a twofold type of issue that in which there's no one solution for it. And we really need to come to the place where we evaluate all areas. Now, there's been a shift over the years from community to individualism. There was a time when raising a child was a community effort. And teachers, parents, and neighbors and the like, everyone corrected you. There was no way as a young child that I can pass a group of adults and not say good morning or good afternoon. Because before I reach home, I'm certain that my mother would have heard about that and the discipline would begin. But now, what do you do in the era where someone says to you, don't talk to my child? Let's carry that over into the school. When your child is able to give one side of the story, and as a parent, you don't question all angles. You go into the schools with an attitude or position that your child is being taken advantage of, and not necessarily giving the teacher the opportunity to explain and say, listen, this is what is happening. When we approach the teachers as though this is a democracy here, we can come in here, we can tell you what we want, we can do what we want, we can rough you up in the presence of our children, who sees that as an example and behaves likewise in your absence. So that contributes to the era of persons who care dying. Teachers don't care anymore. They come to school, and whoever learn, whoever don't learn, that is your problem. And let's ask an honest question. Are they wrong at this point? Are they wrong when they are expected to deal with abuse from parents and children alike? Are they wrong when they are trying to communicate information and children are being disruptive? Are they wrong? Should they run their bloods to water for children who do not want to behave like children? Let's turn the mirror on ourselves for a moment. How many of us actually reach the place where we say, listen, if you don't behave in school, I'm going to embarrass you? My mom has done that many times. She said, if you don't want to learn, I will deal with you differently. How many of us actually take the opportunity to enforce the rules, enforce and say to the children, you do not know anything, you don't know what you're talking about, you haven't lived long enough to tell me what you are going to do. And so that aspect of care that we expect from others, we also must demonstrate that level of care to give the support to the school administration where it is needed. Now, that also is twofold, because if the school administration is not necessarily partnering as well, then we will find ourselves in some problems. If the rules apply to some and not to all, we will also find ourselves on a different end where the injustice within the school system continues. Because everyone, at least we should expect that you have some level of compassion, of common sense, to see when things are working and when things are not working. Really and truly, there are many teachers who care deeply, but they are exhausted, they are unsupported, and in some cases they are afraid. They are afraid. I sit and I look on social media at the magnitude of fights that's taking place and the manner in which these beatings are being done. Recently I saw, I think that was this week, I saw a parent, an adult, getting involved in the fight and equally throwing blows. Equally throwing blows as the adult in the situation. And of course, I can understand the level of frustration, because let's be real, our young people are disrespectful. They are extremely disrespectful. But that's what happens when babies make babies. So it starts before school. We can't outsource the parenting to the schools, eh? A child who doesn't learn respect for authority at school first, they definitely learn it at home. They learn that disrespect for authority from home. They learn disrespect for the law enforcement at home. Because in my time, there was no way I would lose my mind to disrespect an officer. And now we have school children disrespecting, verbally abusing our law enforcement. And we have people cheering them on and saying, leave the man, leave the youth, leave the young girl. You see? So plainly, if a child cannot handle correction, we need to ask were they even taught accountability? Were they taught accountability in the first place? Which brings me to exams. Every year we have arguments about SCA being too onerous on the students, and it's leaving them in a state where they are traumatized. At this point in time, this is the system that affords students the opportunity to advance from one stage to the next. And if not SCA, I simply ask, what else? If not SCA, what else do we do to help the students advance from one stage to the next? And I hear the points that yes, psychologically it's traumatic, it's putting a lot of pressure on them. But my question remains, as they advance through different stages in life, they will encounter pressures like that and more. If not what the education system is offering, might I ask, what are we offering as parents or, guardians in the homes, in the communities? How do we address dealing with pressures, dealing with life's pressures, when life is still happening around them? I often say in my coaching and training sessions, especially when I'm dealing with young people, life does not stop when you leave school. As a matter of fact, it just begins. From the time you take that uniform off, and I'm now advancing from SCA to CXC, from the time you take that uniform off and you officially end your exams, you are no longer a student. The world sees you as a part of the community, an operative adult. And so, if you haven't mastered certain practices, certain behaviors from an institution that is supposed to give you those controls, implement and instill those values apart from your home and apart from the religious institutions, then when you face the realities of life, it is going to become particularly challenging. I see students often trying to seek employment, and they are trying to do so with less than a full certificate. And this is my honest plea to students that are preparing to write CXC exams. I plead with you to study with all your heart. It is one case if you do your best, you study, and you still may not have achieved the particular grades. That's understandable, because life happens, things happen to people. But for those whose lives had some measure of normalcy, I plead with you to take this period, these few weeks ahead of exams, to sufficiently prepare yourself and give yourself the opportunity for a comfortable future. We will find ourselves in arguments to say, well, I've done all of these studies and I still can't find a job. May I ask you, if you do nothing and you come out with nothing, what do you expect society to do for you? I humbly ask that question, because at that stage, you are not in a position to bargain, because you bring nothing to the table. No experience, no qualifications, but all attitude. So I plead with my young people today, especially those who you are aware that you are coming from lesser means. You are aware that your family circumstances are one such that it is not ideal. You have nothing and no one to lean on but God. I plead with you to take these few weeks and give this exam your best shot. And if all you can do is attain 5, make 5. Make it and give it the best that you can. Because I say to you, you must present a full certificate for basic entry into the corporate world. Basic entry. And there are things that people won't say to you But when adults, you go into a space, and this is for children as well, when as a young person, no one says anything to you, you are in a bad place. If adults have reached a stage where there is no more communicating with you, it is not a time to rejoice. What it says is that you are not teachable and you are being left to your own demise, and life will have its way with you. So, these things are what I hope our parents are communicating with the young ones from the stage of SCA. That life gives you nothing for free. Everything in this life, someone has to pay for it. If your life appears to be smooth, it is because someone else is paying the price for you to be comfortable at this stage. So this is my honest plea to our nation's young people. Be wise enough to observe the circumstances that are around you. Observe, because life in itself, you will realize that everyone aren't as equal as they appear. And if you know, you know. Everyone, sometimes we start off on the same slate, and then some persons advance, and then life presents different advantages to some, while others have other disadvantages. This is a reality that we all must face. And so we must make decisions that are best for us in the particular circumstances. So, let us not be so quick to judge the school administration, the teachers who are contending every day to get the syllabus taught, because they too are parents. They too are victims of abuse. And those who've been around younger persons, if you are often around younger persons, you can understand that it can be uncomfortable to try to fight for people who are not willing to fight for themselves. So we must truly understand. Now, there are social issues, poverty and trauma and broken systems, etc. But we must be careful not to raise a generation that explains behaviors but never takes responsibility for it. Understanding why something happens should never become an excuse for allowing it to continue. And I'll say that again. Understanding why something happens is not an excuse for things to continue. So sometimes that argument we hear that, we should create all of this safe space and we must be so gentle. When we get our youth accustomed to too much gentleness and too much comfort, they are unable to deal with the harshness and the realities of life, that life is not gentle with you. Life is hard. And if we as adults have challenges with coping, then tell me, how difficult would it be for the undisciplined child to face life? If you advance enough and you get through with your education, etc., but your family has covered you all the way and you have had no opportunity to face responsibilities, guess what's going to happen? You're going to grow up, you're going to get married, you'll get a spouse, and you're going to lose your spouse and family because you have no personal self-governance. There is no self-governance because all you have been taught is to be sheltered and to be protected and to do what you want, and someone else, mostly your mom, is going to pick that slack up. And what I want us to understand is that in this world, nobody truly has to care. People care because it's part of their kind nature. Some people lean on their spiritual or religious values to give them that care. But let's be real. In this world, nobody cares. The few that care, we mustn't abuse them and take advantage of them because they don't have to do it. I think when we understand the principle of things and the principle of life, we will have an appreciation for those that go the extra mile for us. And so again, if it starts in the home, that spirit of entitlement is going to go into your future with you and cause you to lose many opportunities because of arrogance and because of entitlement. So because you don't have money, or you don't have whatever it is that you want, that gives you the right to steal, that gives you the right to kill, that gives you the right to do whatever dirt you have to do to get what you want. And it is perpetuated by the cycle of that mindset that comes from your family values. What you are taught at home, what you are taught is acceptable, what was not broken from the root in the family home, in that family institution of the family, what is allowed to continue goes into your adulthood. So then you show up to the workplace with an entitlement that either, yes, I have my qualifications, I expect to get this, that, and the other, or I don't have any qualifications, but give me something or I'm going to snatch a purse. That feeds into other social issues, where now the police will have their right to execute. And we all know that it don't be fair at times. The decisions that we make in youth highly impacts what we deal with in adulthood that leads to regret. In this week, as we prepare for exams or parents are on that ball getting things done, it is important from now to have those conversations, because even the SCA students, they are in for a rude awakening when they go into another environment that is expecting them to come up to a certain level academically. You're going into a space as SCA, at that point in time you will be post-SCA students, where you are now amongst other children who would have competed for a space in a school. And it could be a difficult transition to be accustomed to being the A student or the bright star in the class, and then you come into a new environment where you meet real orangutans, real A-listers who are accustomed to performing, and it will force you then to come up to a level that you are not accustomed. So these are the conversations that we should have. Otherwise, it can easily cause young persons to tread on a path of trauma that is unnecessary, when all it needs to be is guided conversations. But if you as a parent have no self-governance, what guidance are you giving to these children? If you as a parent or a guardian are unable to deal with the challenges of life as an adult, what are you going to say? What wisdom are you going to pour into young children who have impressionable minds? We must be mindful of what we take into ourselves, because that is what you are going to pour out. It wouldn't hurt to get help, to get information, lean on your community. Community meaning your circle of people who will hold you accountable. If there is no accountability community, then you're going to start seeing some destructive patterns. Whether that community is your religious community, your professional community, your familial community, you need to lean on some type of moral support to transition these students from SCA to secondary school, from secondary school to tertiary or corporate. One of the two, there needs to be that transitioning that happens from a safe mindset, from a safe perspective. Accountability is important for our young persons, even for our adults. We are finding so many adults blaming everyone and everything else, but looking on the inside to see where the issues are lying. And if as adults we have those gaps, those psychological gaps, those emotional gaps, to the extent that self-evaluation is so burdensome that you cannot self-evaluate, you cannot apologize, you cannot be mature enough to see I am possibly wrong in this situation. If as an adult you cannot do that, you cannot self-regulate, you have no moral compass, then what are you going to give to these young ones? What can you say to them that they will truly hear? It is imperative that we give them the right tools to prepare for life. The lack of consequences is what causes things to continue. The glorification of aggression. If somebody hit you, hit them back. Our inability to communicate and say what is the problem, what is causing the issue. And why we have communication problems is because we only identify problems. We don't know how to identify solutions. We are only meant to criticize, and we see it in our own societies. Okay, the government presents something, you don't like this, but what else? It's okay to disagree on what grounds? Or is that for somebody else to do? Is it for someone else to do, and you just get to sit there and complain? So all through the facets of society, we are seeing this mentality, we are seeing these behaviors developing, and then again we look back and wonder, what are we leaving for our children? Because they are not seeing adults who are responsible. They are not seeing adults who find solutions to problems, but find problems for every solution. We need to do better in this time. No, it may be a short time, but in these few weeks before we roll out another generation of adults into this corporate world, into this cold world, we have a few weeks to have some serious conversations about where do we go from here. What do we do? What are the consequences of not having the equipment, the tools to make it through life? Now is the time to have those conversations, parents, with your teenagers. What is the plan? And I can share some questions. What is your plan when you finish school? What do you want to do? Maybe have a conversation and sit and say, listen, mommy, daddy don't have the money for you to pursue tertiary education on a full-time basis. Perhaps let's try to talk about the possibility of working and studying so that you will be able to support yourself. Have we had those conversations with our teens, with our young adults, so that they can understand? Because let me tell you what's going to happen. There are a lot of young people whose families are connected. And what you're going to see after all the graduation pictures were taken and all the weave and all the best dress, what is going to happen is that those whose families are connected, those who actually have persons to give them opportunities, you're going to see them in the summer posing. They're doing an internship. They're doing this. They're doing that. And for the regular child that doesn't have those opportunities, what are you going to do? That's going to lead you down another path of depression. Because you're now realizing what mommy said was true. We don't have anybody. We don't have any connections. We have no one that we can talk to. And your buddy friend who you were wasting time with in school for the past 5 years is actually moving forward, and you are sitting there watching the four walls because you didn't pay attention. I truly hope that we take in stock. Parents, these are serious conversations to have. Serious conversations. Because you would understand and appreciate as adults, you really want your child to come out of school with something, because, I mean, it's difficult to continue to take care of so many people on one salary, yeah? Let's be honest. A lot of parents are truly hoping, they're excited, okay, finally this child finished in school. You could be able to get a job and at least help me with 1 or 2 bills. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, not every parent has plans to go through another 3-4 years of university full-time, having to fund a child again. Not every parent has that luxury and that opportunity. And so they are depending on the child's success or pursuit of success to add another income to the home. And what would you say now after 5 years, I should say, let's keep it at CXC level, 5 years of making sacrifices for your child to come out of school with nothing, and then make decisions that are going to put you into further distress? This evening's conversation is aiming at really reminding us and driving home the point, especially to those who know that their families are not as connected, that don't have the support. You are honest enough with yourself to admit that when I finish school, I am certain that it's just going to be me and God. This conversation is for you. The lines are open. The number to call is 342-0081 and 466-5391. 342-0081 and 466-5391. Let me hear what you have to say. We're not going to argue this evening. We're going to be honest with ourselves. Parents, young people alike, we're going to be honest with ourselves. And let's figure out, are we really prepared for this? Are we prepared to have these conversations? Are we prepared to do what is necessary to prepare our young people to be successful in the workplace? To be citizens that can contribute to the society? To be citizens that we can be proud of? Are we prepared to do that? Are we having those conversations? Let's talk about teenage pregnancy. Let's talk about it because it is a real concept, and though the numbers may not necessarily reflect same, we cannot take for granted that there are many young mothers with upwards of 4 children every day reaching out, crying out for assistance. And the question is, how did we get there? Are we avoiding a conversation? Are we avoiding certain topics, expecting them to know? And let's be honest, a lot of these young people, they truly do not know. They truly do not know. And we are so busy arguing rights. Who is this and who is that? We're busy arguing nonsense. Where are the elders to have those conversations? Are we offering to the ministries when they have their sessions with the young people in the police youth clubs and the like? Are we offering ourselves to give that type of guidance, those of us who can? Let's have those honest conversations and figure out, we have a few weeks. We are churning out another batch. Thousands of students are going to leave our education system this summer. But everybody more interested in being outside. Be outside this summer with what? If you come out of school with nothing, what are you outside with? Because at this stage, your parents would have done as much as they can, and they would have no obligation to take you any further. So you can't afford to be outside this summer. Let's be real. Let's start to have those conversations, and let's do what we have to do for those of us who are in a position to give back, to be honest, to guide, to mentor. Remember that a mentor is not a friend. A mentor is not a friend. So all of these points, they're all systematic, Indiscipline, violence in schools, high failure rates of exams. When you look at all of them, they're completely connected to all the elements that are connected to the schools. You know, I had a conversation recently with someone who was saying to me, what about the Sunday schools? What about the youth ministries and so on? Those groups within the, well, in my context, I can say church communities. Well, let's extend it to the religious communities. Those groups within the religious communities that train, teach, and guide the young people. How effective is it in your mind? Are you getting through to the minds of those young people, or is it that not enough of them are coming out to those meetings? Not enough of them are attending religious, not just celebrations, but weekly religious meetings. Does our children even have religious values anymore that they lean on? Long ago, at least in my context, some parents wouldn't necessarily go to church, but they're going to send the children to Sunday school. You're going to go ahead and leave us home. You'll go to church and listen to the word of God. But now, our children have more activities on Sundays or Saturdays, whatever is your day of worship. They have other activities that they prioritize over their spiritual development and well-being. And if there are no foundational morals and values, when they go into the school, what do you think is going to happen? There are no values, there's no fear for God, for a supreme being. And then they're being taught by YouTube and all of these social media influences. They are being taught by the social media. So there is no opportunity to share those values. So the question is, what do we expect? I am kind of annoyed at times when I hear, persons blame the politicians and so on. They are grown. They are grown. And at that stage in their lives, they can basically do as they please. They don't have the responsibility to parent your children. Celebrities and the like, they don't have the responsibility to parent your children. That's your job. The religious leaders don't have the responsibility to parent your children. That is why parents are there to also translate the God's word to their children when they go home. To communicate and ask what did they think about what they heard. I heard at one point that this video comes around. I think every Diwali there is a pundit who's in his message to his congregants, he's saying, you don't want to sing the religious songs, but you're going out there for carnival and you're behaving, or you know all the songs, but when you come to temple, you're not engaging in the worship. And I'm certain that other religious groups can say the same, that our young people are no longer connecting spiritually. They're not interested in what the faith has to offer when it is truly the bedrock of society. It presents what the values should be for persons to go out and be productive in the world. So if they are not attending on a weekly basis or whatever, if they are not attending something to give them that moral compass, then what result are we going to have? And then some persons will say, well, not everybody is religious. I think at this stage, nobody's asking you to be religious. We are asking you to consider what you are investing into the young person. You as an adult may decide, make that decision to not be religious or identify with a group. But it is the bedrock for these young people, these impressionable minds, to have a solid foundation in order for them to live and continue to be productive. When they reach of age, they will be able to make their own decisions. But whilst they are within a community, especially school systems that offer daily prayers, that recognize a supreme being for intervention, they must be able to participate. So, this is the point that we are making this evening. This is where we are as a society. And until these these challenges are addressed, we will continue to find ourselves in problems. We cannot shelter these children anymore, adults. You can't shelter them because what you try to shelter them from or what you avoid communicating with, they're going to find out about it. Anything you try to shield them from, they are going to find out about it and more. We are in the age of social media where nothing is off limits. We have to do what we have to do. And it may not everyone will agree. But we have to reach to a point now. It feels like the world is on fire. It feels like our country is on fire because too much is happening. Frustrations are mounting among the citizenry, and so at this point, it is every man for himself. But while life is happening to us as adults, life is still happening to our young people. And we can't be so caught up in what is happening in our own lives that we are leaving them to the wolves. Because then they will be forced to make decisions that we won't like. Many teachers are exhausted. They are exhausted. And let's talk about the single parent. Somebody is saying here, what percentage of single parent home children are successful? Very good question. I don't have the statistics for you. But coming from a single parent home, I can tell you that for children in that type of situation, it has to be 100% willpower. It has to be 100% emotional intelligence to see what is around you and say, listen, I don't want this life for myself. There are some children who are so aware. It's sad, but they are so aware of what is happening in their own circumstances that they say, listen, I got to get out of this. And that drives them to a place where they become successful because they realize it's either by fire or by force. Then there are others who look at the circumstance and say, well, there is no way. There is just no way. So I'm not even going to make the effort. And in those circumstances where that kind of discouragement comes in, you need to have people around you at least to hold your hand through and say, let's go. You can do this. But that's the community that I'm speaking about. Without the community, you're not going to have that happening. And sometimes that community are the very teachers, the very administration, to be able to see potential and say, listen, if you continue on the path that you're going down, you are not going to make it. I need you to make an about turn and go in a different direction. I think, personally, I think that our generation is so smart. They aren't foolish, really. Sometimes the behaviors are foolish, but they are quite intelligent. And I think they have such strong opinions that if they are able to use that in an effective way, they can reach their potential. But with the age of so much information and so much advancement, it truly shouldn't be that our young people are failing. They are smart enough to open businesses. I am seeing young people with skills to do hair and nails, and they're getting so involved in the social media and the technology to be able to do marketing and branding without qualifications. They are brilliant. So being from a single parent household is no longer an excuse for you to be, for children to not be successful. As a matter of fact, I think it should fuel them to the point where they say, I cannot continue in this poverty. You are looking at a real life testimony. Let me take this call. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm listening to your program. Very good. What it is that it is. I was a single parent, and let me tell you something. It is not anything that somebody wants to do, and they cannot do it if they make up their mind. You don't have to be rich to do anything to get yourself better than what you is. Because I live in a room and a kitchen with dirt, and a single parent with 2 girl children. And I show my girl children to do 2 work. sleep for hours to make yourself somebody. The two of them, and I had 6 friends, and I showed them how you have to get rich, you know. You don't want to have a nice house, well furnished, or a nice car, you know. You can live in a little house, have it clean, and you do your work. Anything you want to do, whether it's seamstress, whether it's anything. Look, that boy in Item Beach, another young fellow in Piaco, his mother dead, he grown that stepmother, but he treated him good. You know what he do? From inside, I forget how they call the road. He went and he learned upholstery. While he was learning upholstery, he get a little change. While he was learning upholstery, he get a little change. Yeah. He went to learn upholstery, and while learning, the people give him a little change, so that comes good as for passage, and if you want anything, right? Now, that boy, one upholstery, 2 upholstery, didn't get everything one time. He buy a little car, do a little PJ, he ran. He is one of the biggest upholstering persons in Piaco Village. The biggest upholstering person, and he have more places too. But you know what? He takes with God, he takes his time. He are doing like those fellas holding a gun, want to go and hold up somebody and take what they have. You can make that. You can take time, and you can make more than what you go to hold up a person for, kidnap them for. But take time. So what you're saying there is right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful comments. Now, it is true. And I would love to continue this conversation on single parenthood. Because, I mean, single parenthood is not just the mom. We usually identify the single parent as just the mom. It's majority of the time, it's just the mother. But there are single parents who are dads. And to the fathers that are doing such a fantastic job holding down the fort, I mean, it is commendable for the men, for the kings that hold down the fort, especially for the sake of your sons. So before we even go further into that single parent conversation, I take the time to commend our kings, our brothers, even the stepfathers who come in and do what they have to do. A lot of men bash women with kids and all of these things, but Jesus had a stepfather. Let's keep that in our minds. Joseph is not Jesus' father, and he did what he had to do to protect his betrothed, which was Mary, and so raised Jesus. So let's keep that in our minds when we are bashing women or single parent women. So we just have 31 seconds before we cross over into the final hour. I want to say thank you again. This is a wonderful conversation, and I want us to keep it going. The comments are coming in as well. Continue to share your comments, and let's explore now single parenthood and the impact that single parenthood and even divorce has on our nation's youth, even in this exam period. See you on the next side of the hour.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Boy, I got in an accident a while ago. I was in traffic and my car get bounced from behind.
Well, then they're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, the insurance company go fix it up.
Fix up? Huh? I make my claim the next day. And up to now, I can't hear from the insurance company. I need my car fixed.
Look, you better go to the Financial Services Ombudsman. I'm sure they can help.
Yeah, I'm going to check them now.
To resolve a complaint with your insurance company, bank, or non-bank financial institution, contact the Office of the Financial Services Ombudsman at 800-4FSO or visit www.ofso.org.tt. We can help, and our services are free.
What are you doing? Big D, big fun, KFC, so we big on the ground. We the nation, cause they don't know we win the crown. Say what you want, KFC, so we lead in front. We are big nation, TNT and KFC, one motion.
Come to KFC,
KFC is life. It's a big deal. Say what you want. KFC, so we lead in front. Big deal. We are big nation. TNT and KFC, one motion. Big deal.
Our 75th Diamond Jubilee is here. Come join us for a week full of events. Monday, 23rd, grand opening of Liberation Celebration. Let freedom reign. Prohibition to Promise, 5 p.m. Tuesday, 24th March, a night of sacred strength and nurture. The men and women who carried the faith, whose shoulders we build upon. Wednesday, 25th March, night of praise and triumph. Thursday, 26 March, Diaspora Night. One faith, many shores. Bound by spirit, not by distance. Friday, 27th March, Youth Night. Generation of Promise, passing the mantle. We will be there, you will be here, and we shall celebrate our 75th Diamond Jubilee of the spiritual Baptist faith.
This meal tip is being brought to you by Royal Castle. Our culture, our taste.
Lent is here, and the castle is making fasting easy and tasty. Come enjoy any of our 5 delicious fish options, all made with a fresh catch, seasoned local style, and cooked to golden perfection. Try the fish meal. 2 slices of fish with a side. The fish combo. 2 slices of fish, 1 side and a drink. Maybe the fish sandwich combo of 1 sandwich, a side and a drink. Want more fish? Well, the Royal Fish Meal is for you. Enjoy a slice of fish, a fish sandwich with a side and a drink. Or maybe you just want our famous fish sandwich. The delicious Lenten specials are hot and waiting for you at your nearest Royal Castle.
Here's a tasty meal tip from Royal Castle. If you feel like having something different for lunch or dinner today, then we have fantastic fish meals too. Get the fish combo of 2 succulent pieces of fish, 1 side, and a 16-ounce soft drink. Or the fish sandwich combo of a tender, tasty sandwich, 1 side, and 16-ounce soft drink. The Castle uses the freshest fish with its famous, enticing local seasonings, all cooked to golden perfection. So try our fantastic fish meals today. Royal Castle, our culture, our taste.
Lent is here, and the castle is making fasting easy and tasty. Come enjoy any of our 5 delicious fish options, all made with a fresh catch, seasoned local style, and cooked to golden perfection. Try the fish meal. 2 slices of fish with a side. The fish combo. 2 slices of fish, 1 side and a drink. Maybe the fish sandwich combo of 1 sandwich, a side and a drink. Want more fish? Well, the Royal Fish Meal is for you. Enjoy a slice of fish, a fish sandwich with a side and a drink. Or maybe you just want our famous fish sandwich. The delicious Lenten specials are hot and waiting for you at your nearest Royal Castle.
That tip was brought to you by Royal Castle. Our culture, our taste.
Get ready. This is big. Our first annual epic fundraiser cruise. Sail in the sunset aboard the stunning Embassy yacht at King's Wharf, San Fernando. Easter Sunday, 5th April 2026. Boarding 2:30 p.m. sharp. Sunset vibes, sweet music, pure liming on the water. Tickets only $250. All funds for a great cause. Together we change lives. Quick rule, no glass bottle, no big coolers. Casual dress, come as you comfy. Payments can be made by Monday, 30th of March 2026. Tickets still available. Call or WhatsApp 683-8569 or 716-4203 right now. Limited spots, don't sleep. Sail in the sunset, Easter Sunday, Embassy Yacht. Let's go.
There's some advice when you hear it. You know, one time is good advice. My granny tell me a hot cup of good and natural ginger tea first thing in the morning does wonders for the body. Good and natural ginger tea in its single-size packets is excellent for flavoring your cooking, salads and desserts. But what was news for me is when my granny say a hot cup of good and natural ginger tea helps with nasal congestion and colds, stomach problems, migraine headaches, and it's really good for arthritis in the body. Made from freshly crushed ginger root to get that strong ginger taste and aroma so soothing. Good and natural ginger tea available with or without sugar, so all you need is boiling water to get a cup going. As the old people say, don't take flambeau to see in the night what you could see clear in the day. Good and natural ginger tea. Good advice to start your day right.
Is a whole lot of flavor wrapped up in a twist. Some of them try to rap, but they don't rap like this. With crispy KFC tenders and lettuce and carrots and shredded tortilla embedded, perfect wherever you headed. Dripping with that creamy mayo and that mambo sauce. Let me tell them one more time to get my point across. It's a craveable, crunchable, movable, functional, flavorful meal that your taste buds must endorse. KFC, crunch twist, crunch twist. None of them, they don't make them like this.
Introducing KFC's Crunch Twist, a flavorful wrap with a delicious difference for just $29.95. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Come one, come all to a week fully loaded with Baptistness. It's guaranteed to be an epic experience. The National Congress of Incorporated Spiritual Baptist Organizations of Trinidad and Tobago presents our Diamond Jubilee 75th Anniversary Spiritual Baptist Liberation Week celebrations 2026. Under the theme, Let Freedom Reign, the official launch of the Spiritual Baptist Liberation Center and Entrepreneurial Village. There will be lots of food, drinks, clothing, drums on sale, free doctor consultations, giveaways, and lots more. This will be followed by a night service entitled From Prohibition to Promise, in honor of the men and women who carried the faith whose shoulders we build upon. Tuesday, March 24, 2026, a night of sacred strength and nurture. Wednesday, 25th March 2026, night of praise and triumph. See the members of the Spiritual Baptist faith exhibit true worship in hymns and sankis, prayers, adoption, the drums. Learn their history as they take us back to their roots. Psalm 100 says, "Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever." Don't miss out. All these events will be memorable and unforgettable. Happy Spiritual Baptist Shelter Liberation Week.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Good evening and welcome back to all of you. We are in the final hour of the third umpire. We are continuing our conversation on school violence, the social impact, I should say, of what is taking place in our schools, and generally starting at the foundation, which are the institutions that support our nation's youth. And we are continuing with the family structure. Someone raised an important question on YouTube. Shout out to you, Reality All the Ways, asking what percentage of single parent homes children are successful. And that is now raising the topic about the impact of the single parent household. We are very much aware that as parents, you make children, but you don't make their minds. We have all seen where children in a household that has both parents, that has all the supportive, even extended families, you have grandparents and uncles and aunts around, those children make their decisions nevertheless. However, most of the time, we see that level of instability in terms of behaviors coming out from children who don't have the community or the family structure that supports that type of discipline. And generally, it is seen in single parent households that are usually headed by the matriarch or the mother. In households, there are households where the father is leading the home, and sometimes they do go off course as well. Yeah? Somebody is saying, do you think it should have separation in education? Well, we're going to come right into that. We're going to come to that question. Let's just build the foundation here a little bit. And of course, I want to start with this caveat that this is not to blame. This is an honest conversation about what is working and what is not. And of course, to answer that question, separation in education, we must start with the foundation structures. And today we are addressing single parent home. So a single parent household is one where either the mother or the father or one guardian is taking control of the household in terms of the directorship or leading the family and taking care, has primary care of the child or children. That's why it is called a single parent household. In most situations of single parenthood, the moms are the ones that are leading the homes. There are some circumstances where the fathers do take control, but it is not in the minority, or the majority, I should say, as compared to the mothers. And so this is not necessarily about capacity or effort, really. It's not effort, because a single parent carries all the burdens, but it's a question of capacity and the ability to effectively lead. The question, we have seen results where people are successful, a lot of young persons who come out successful either in sports or business or otherwise, and when they tell you their stories, they say, well, I grew up in a single parent household, I lived in poor means, a poorer community, etc. All of these things happened to me, yet I persevered. However, there's another side of that story where many people who have felt the negative effects and ended up on the wrong side of the law also comes through that single parent avenue. And it impacts their ability to deal with and adjust to the hardships of life, because with one parent available to do the nurturing, to do the guiding, and to do the full provisions as really should be carried by both parents, it means that there is a gap and something happens there which affects the outcome for the child. So what changes structurally with a single parent household is that realistically it's lack of supervision. That one parent has to work every day, and let's put it in a natural context. If school starts at 8, between 8 and 8:15, and the parent has to get to work at 8 a.m., then we already have a contradiction. If school ends between 2:30 and 3, and the parent finishes work at 4 p.m., the single parent, then we have an issue there as well. We have some unaccounted time. We have some pressures that is going to happen, and depending on the age of the child, 1 hour is all you need to get in trouble. Not every child is going to say, okay, mommy not here, mommy or daddy not here, I'm going to use this time to do some extra studies. Their brains aren't as developed to make those types of decisions just yet. So the lack of supervision, thank you so much, all the way, Legend. The lack of supervision is a major issue that often leads to children getting themselves in unnecessary trouble. I will start with teenage pregnancy. How many parents have cameras, surveillance in their homes or around their homes? Long time we had the fast auntie next door who we used to call a sukunya. We used to have her looking through the window to make sure ain't nobody is coming up in this house when mommy or daddy not here. But in the absence of the village mako, those things are not available. The community is no longer available, and so things can take place. And let's be real, you see, the period when students are sent home to prepare for exams, that is the window in which some of these activities take place. Let's go over to the young men. Mommy, daddy not home to tell you when you just come from school, you ought to stay inside. This is your structure. You have your homework, you have your studies to do, and lock the doors, remain inside. No, my guy is going out and hang out with his friends. Remember, now we just had over the weekend or so, a 17-year-old boy was murdered. So in that environment with young men, they are not looking at, hey, there's a youth man here, Even these youths, these young men are picking up, if you know what I'm saying. They are picking up bullets because you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, school, 8 to 2:30, 3 o'clock, somewhere around there. But the parent is working 8 to 4. That single parent may even have to pick up an extra shift. Let's be honest, do some additional hours to make the money for the entire household to be sustained. We are not even talking about child support, because for a meager $1,000 or less, that comes whenever, that parent, the primary parent, has to stretch the dollar and make things work. So then when it comes to the situation of, do we think education should be separated, to the benefit of who? Now it sounds like a good idea. Because those who want to learn, you're creating a safer environment, a peaceful environment for them to progress and thrive. But those who don't want to learn, who belong, and let's be real, most of them belong to those single parent categories where the parent doesn't have the means to give them the opportunities that their counterparts have. Separating the education system does not work in their favor. And I am saying to those children who know their circumstances, you are aware of the struggles your parent is facing. You cannot tell me that you will willingly refuse to do what is right. You will willingly refuse to prepare yourself to support as you should. So, to some extent, to answer that question, it can benefit some, but I can tell you, it will not benefit the vast majority. Because there are many people who cannot afford to give the extra that is required for their children to be successful. They have to depend on the values, on the willpower of that child to say, no, I will not continue the cycle of poverty. I will not perpetuate the things that I've seen my parents go through. You are depending on a child who is not yet mature, who have not seen life to the extent where they understand the effects of their actions. So it's a twofold kind of an issue. It can benefit to some extent and it can be a disbenefit to some. Now, when parents have that separation, now that type of single parenthood can also, let me acknowledge, it can also happen when there's a death of one parent. And the separation on the whole it adds to the fact that the children are emotionally unstable. They are old enough to see and feel the pains and the experiences that one parent is going through. So it creates that gap. Let's be real. Mother's Day, Father's Day coming around. For example, for those who are in strictly matriarchal homes, and Father's Day comes around and they can't get to make a card. Those things, those traumas go with them in the future if it is left unattended and unaddressed. And if the primary parent is not having the conversation and exposing them to have that community to say, how are you feeling about not having daddy around, not having mommy around? Communicate with them to help them identify what they're feeling, process it, and deal with it. Otherwise, those untapped hurts can affect them in the future in the way they deal with others, because they may be angry at other people for having what they themselves don't have, and that includes emotional support. Sometimes children bully other children because they are simply envious of the resources that they have access to. They are seeing that the other person's parent is dropping them off to school, and they know in their hearts that they feel sad about mommy, daddy not dropping them off. So they will call this child, he's a nerd, he's a baby. You know, your mother has to drop you every day, when they themselves are feeling those kinds of pains. Let me take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Miss Simona. I think you have made a very significant exposition this afternoon.
Thank you.
And I hear you with respect to the single parent, the father or the mother. But to deal with such issues, we may need social intervention. Yes. And yes, you have social workers, you have psychologists and that kind. But if you have school social workers, the role of the school social work, they use, I think, about 3 methods. One of the 3 methods, casework, group work, and community development, right? Or community organization. And usually, the school social worker would work with the teacher, work with the parent, work with the child, and other persons who may have impact, who might have impacted or who impact on the life of the child, right? So if the child has such issues, the social worker would interview the parent, they would gather the data, the information and whatnot, but through interview, the process, they would analyze, they would make conclusion, and then they would take the necessary action. So I'm saying that in those communities, if the communities are in fact organized, where you have different structures, you have structures within the community. I'm not talking about the community, you talk about the church as a community and whatnot. But I'm talking about a community in terms of, I'm talking about the community in terms of the, let's say, Diego Martin.
Okay, areas, yes.
Bagatelle. You have you have school in Diego Martin. And therefore you work with those people, you work with the parent. We talk about the parent, you work with the child, you work with the teacher and whatnot. And you make available the necessary resources in order to help the child and to help the parent. But the community itself is not organized. It's disorganized in the sense that they lack the kind of groups, they lack groups. There's no council, let's say community council. There are no committee, development committees within those areas. So they're dysfunctional. So what you need to do is to organize those communities where you would have the necessary intervention or treatment, I want to put it that way, to help those people who need help, material or physical or psychological help, whatever it may be. They may need legal help too, to solve their problems or to alleviate the problems that they are faced with. So the issue, yes, I think you have described the issues quite clearly. But I'm saying that we have to move to the position where we have to help people to deal with their problems. And you need the intervention of social workers who are specially trained to deal with those issues. So we alleviate that. So to children drifting into delinquency and all that kind of thing. Let's say dropping out of school, aggression, all these things within the school context. You could deal with that, but we're not organized. Those communities are not organized. Nobody to help the mother, nobody to help the child. Even though you have school social workers, but how many school social workers you have, and how many children to one school social worker? Could they deal adequately in terms of helping those children deal with their problems or the family deal with the problem? So those are the issues. But I'm saying my cry is for those communities to move from disorganized community to organized community, whereby the people themselves can come together and work with the necessary body, social development and whatnot, the education ministry, social workers, the elders within the community, the leaders, in developing plan to deal with the problems that exist within those communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful contribution. Now, he raised a pertinent point. There's so many things that's coming out of this, and I haven't even finished my discourse on the single parenthood. Let's go into this comment that this caller just made. Now, a lot of people laughed when the Honorable Roger Alexander said the community center is the center for the community. If you understand what he's trying to say, it is supposed to be the space for the community to come together to have these types of engagements. That's basically what he is saying. And if really you have all of these community centers that are set up throughout different communities, then the question is asked, what is being done through those facilities to assist the communities? There are homework centers. How many people are aware that their communities have homework centers that help, the students who want to go? There's a nearby library, they can go there and do their studies and so on to get the support free of charge. But the problem becomes when those institutions becomes a liming spot And the children who truly need access to those resources are not able to enjoy the opportunities to study in a safe, quiet environment without the disruptive students. So we are having a situation where the weeds are growing among the plants and the flowers. The wheat is growing with the tares. And unfortunately, they have to grow together, just given some biblical context, and to the point where it reaches a certain stage where the tares are removed from the wheat. And that system now of removing the tares from the wheat in its growing stage is what we call the law enforcement. The law taking its course, because now we have to weed out the ones that are not productive. So if we have to utilize now the community centers to be that center for the community, then it will take effort. And he raised a good point. Who is actually willing now to offer their time, offer their expertise to go into those community centers and say, listen, let's have a couple sessions for our young people. It takes funding. It takes time. And if we can do that, I think we can do a lot to save the communities. Get some social workers every year. These universities are churning out social work graduates. What is being done for their practicums? Those are opportunities to place them within the communities and have them work there to help. And I am saying, if there are any government officials that are listening to this program on this evening and you want to have that discussion, I'm willing to discuss it with you. Let us now find a way to utilize these young professionals who are coming out as social workers or qualified social workers and give them the experience to practice the new learnings, the new theories that they've been exposed to, the current learnings, and apply to the current situations we have now. One social worker in a school to how many hundreds of students is insufficient. And then we have to recognize that even though you place the resource within the schools, starting with the schools, there are a lot of young people that are not going to take advantage of the resource because there is peer pressure. Perhaps it may be easier, perhaps, for them to do it within their communities, that we can perhaps set up some community days to have, let parents bring in their teens and have those conversations. It is very possible. It's being done through the police youth clubs. Perhaps there should be a partnership between the police youth clubs and the community centers to have a day. If you want to have a day each month, to have youth forums, have those conversations, have the social work, have those open forums for the young people to express themselves and have even individual counseling that will help them. Because if there is no initiative to take them out of this situation, we will churn out criminals as fast as we are churning out graduates. Every young person is not academic. And I'm seeing the community centers, they are doing quite a good job in terms of getting these programs in place. But the reality is some young people have to work during the day. There's nothing on the weekends because it's a public sector kind of thing, so it's Monday to Friday. Perhaps there can be some engagements that will allow them to also participate after hours. So let us make this thing happen if we can. I am certain there is some minister, there's someone who could be able to assist with this. This is an excellent idea. Why don't we use the community centers, if it is possible? Find some structure to be able to address these problems. Have open forums. Bring in the young men to have the older men, the mature men to have conversations with the young men. There are pockets of society that are trying to have these little interventions, but it may not be widely known. I know there's something called mentions. They have those things going on. There are a lot of female empowerment conversations. I myself have a career classroom to career workshop that I do every summer, free of charge, for young people to be prepared and trained for the world of work. Reach out to me and let's make this happen if you are serious about it. But we have now reached the stage where we have exhausted all options, including utilizing law enforcement, and we are seeing that even with the police in the schools, we still have this violence problem. We still have all these things happening. So now we are back to the single parent household and the impact of divorce and separation, very adult issues that are making its way into the psyche, the emotions, and the mind of the child. We have the lack of supervision. We have the emotional gaps because the children feel when mommy, daddy not there, everybody else have their parents except you. There's also the inconsistency in discipline, and I wanna stress on this point. Parents have to be, your love for the child has to be stronger than your hate or your dislike for the other party. I want to say this because, and I really do not want to bash our men. I big up our kings. Kings, this comment is not for you. This comment is for the other group. There is no way that as an adult that you should be ill-speaking the parent, the primary parent of your child who's taking care of your child on your behalf. The one that's making all the decisions, the one that's making all the sacrifices while you sit there and critique. There is no way that doing that, especially in the presence of your child, is going to help the situation. As a matter of fact, that child is going to be so confused. That child is going to be so frustrated and so grieved that they will find ways to take that pressure off. And sometimes it's the infighting that comes from the effects of the separation that causes the disruptive behavior, because the child is realizing nobody cares about me. The fight is so intense that nobody is fighting for me truly. It is impacting. We have a lot of angry children. Children, I'm not even talking about teens. Children are extremely angry, and you are finding that out by the way they become aggressive in school. And they are not able to handle pressures because the emotions are too much for them to describe at that age. These are the effects that such fractures in families cause. And the children begin to internalize a lot. Let's listen, these children are smarter than we think. They are internalizing a lot of things and thinking, okay, maybe it's my fault. And you can see that by the high rate of self-harm. The rates of self-harm among our children says to us that they are not able to cope with the effects of adult behaviors, adult conflict. And so it's creating anger and confusion with respects to authority and relationships. So that when they go into school, let's talk about the young men. For the young men who just have their moms, and you know, mommy really trying, mommy could, at a stage, mommy hit you 2 slap. But there becomes a stage where the youth man getting taller than mommy, the voice getting a little heavier, he feeling a little mannish. Mommy can't tell him as much anymore. So now you become the man of the house. And you have no respect for authority. So when you come up against a male who is putting you in your place, you're uncomfortable with that. And to the mummies who are not allowing your sons to be disciplined and to be mentored and guided by men, strong men, you are also to blame. You are also part of the problem. Because the men have to address them. If there are men coming forward to say, listen, let me help you with this youth here. Get him in line. You allow men that you trust to give that support and be part of that community. I know of people, of parents who say, I don't want nobody roughing up my son. I know parents who refuse to send their children, their boy children, to cadets and so because they don't want no soldier rough up their son. But when your son starts to rough you up, it is the same law enforcement that you're going to call. And I have to say these things. Because fast forward to 10, 15 years later, when your son becomes a husband, because you have babied him for so long, he has no sense of self-governance and responsibility, so that his wife must now become his mommy. Because you didn't give him the tools that was required for him to be a man. These things go into your future with you. And sometimes what you let slide somebody else will have to pick up that slack. And it's unfortunate how the divorce rate is happening because simply people, these adults, are still children. And unfortunately, one party has to carry that burden of single parenthood because the other simply isn't emotionally prepared or stable enough to care for themselves and a family. It starts somewhere. It starts somewhere. Mentorship is needed. Mentorship is needed among our young people if we are to truly save the generations. If we really are to do something about the direction that our world, our nation is going in, we have to start with mentorship. We have to relinquish that kind of authority and give it to the people who can help us. So, unresolved emotions in children, it don't just disappear. They show up as behaviors. And now the teachers, I'm going back to the teachers, they now have to manage that. The schools are feeling the overflow, the effects of indiscipline. It's affecting the ability to complete the schedule because they have to stop and deal with Johnny's disruptive behavior. Let me take this call. Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, good afternoon, Ms. Sandyford.
Good afternoon, go ahead.
Hi, how you going? It's been a while since I heard you. Yes. I hope all is well with you, sincerely.
Yes, of course. Parenting duties. So I'm back on
track. All right. So happy to hear your voice. All the best, and sincerely, keep up the great work personally and also professionally.
Thank you,
I will be brief. Good evening to you and the entire team. And you're so right. I was listening to you earlier when I was making my way home.
Yes.
No, actually, education is so important. The other day I was remembering my primary school teacher, and I am 34 years of age. And I promise you, I will always remember some memorable teachers.
Yes.
You know, so when you as a parent on the economic side, you go to work, you work hard, you manage your finances, you pay for textbooks, you pay for school uniforms, you pay for transport, food, everything. And you now have to hear that your son or daughter can't focus because someone else disrupts in the classroom. That's unacceptable. Or in or another sense, the teacher not coming to school, they're not prepared, etc. So the topic I think is about accountability.
Yes.
Which is what you have been touching on. Accountability. So keep up the great work. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you.
And great work you're doing. Thank you so much. Because the children are our future.
That's right. Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome. Good afternoon. Go ahead.
I feel like you're wrong number.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome.
We come to them. Yeah, we have time.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
4, 3, 2.
All right. Okay, so we are continuing to talk about the impact of single parenthood, even divorce and separation, broken relationships, on how children are dealing with it emotionally in school and otherwise, how it's impacting them. Now, these are real issues. We have to address all facets. I spent the last hour with you speaking to the young people first. And now we are in a place where we are speaking to parents about what they can do to support. I even, through a call, a recommendation was made to really utilize the community center facilities to have those conversations, to have those programs that will help young people to deal with their emotional traumas and their challenges with life, especially in the family structure. I would love to hear about the success rates of the homework centers. There are a lot of people who are willing to volunteer and to support. So is this an initiative that we can make happen? You know, I'm not sure what our government programs, I know they are working on quite a lot in a short space of time, but is there room to facilitate the psychological healing, any opportunity for addressing psychological challenges with our young people? We can't forget about mental health. And I'm seeing, over the years, I've been seeing a lot of young men on the streets. People often say it's drugs. It's easy to say, well, it's some type of drug that would have caused that psychological or that mental breakdown, what some people call psychosis and so on. But we forget that it's a thin line between sanity and insanity. We forget that it is easy for us to trip, and the reality is when you go on that side of the line, it's very difficult to come back. There are so many young people in our health centers every month trying to get those shots to control the psychosis and all of these mental health challenges that they are having. Meanwhile, there are many young people who are undiagnosed. And as an HR professional, I can say that some behaviors that you see, while I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but some behaviors that enter the workplace, you can tell it is not always natural. Sometimes people come in with some personality disorders that are highly narcissistic, and it makes it difficult to deal with them, to communicate with them, because they just cannot deal with the hardships of the workplace. The workplace in itself has its own corruptions and its own unfairness that if you have no sense of grounding, it can mess you up. So who is preparing our young people for what they will possibly face? Is it possible? Could it be that we are shielding them too much? Good afternoon, caller. Welcome. Good afternoon, welcome. Good afternoon.
Yes, Ms. Simoya, hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Simoya, this conversation that you're having, and the solution surrounding it, a person has to have some level of foresight in order to implement it and really understand what the benefits would be.
Yeah.
Because one engage people in that mental capacity and affect change, then you would have less physical conflict to deal with in society. And we continue to see the people who have the power, be it from the parent to the politician or the police, not engage that mental side. Is more a force to deal with the force that actually coming out because we're not engaging the minds of people in order for to make better choices. You see, if we continue in the way that we are going, it won't be long before everybody want to kill somebody. Right? Because all across the board, it have people engaging in certain type of activities that would provoke certain responses from persons.
Yes.
It have persons who are supposed to be held to a higher standard, and instead of their stuff being pulled up, sometimes the action is actually facilitated by not dealing with it and calling it outside of what it really is. Case in point, this tragedy with Joshua Samaru, regardless of if he is guilty or what he was guilty of, the actions of the police should have been treated with by now. You understand? And they could continue the investigation as they do it in many other matters. But we continue to see a pattern of the goalposts just being moved all over the place in the country. And I believe that is the reason why we can't buckle along and get things fixed. Because as Mr. Matterson just continued to say, we have so much issues, but the solutions are already there.
Wow.
All we need to do, implement them, and a lot of things would fix very quickly, very, very quickly. If we could camera down the small 2 islands, all of the public places, then the police will have something to go on every time in real time. Instead of just giving us words of investigation is continuing, arrest is imminent, and 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we hear nothing about certain matters. Anyhow, I love you and listening. A wonderful program as usual. Thanks for allowing me.
Thank you so much. Very good points. And you see, we are all getting the point here. We are all coming to an understanding of what is taking place. And it's just a simple issue of placing the responsibility, not the blame, placing the responsibility where it belongs. When we reach to a place where you have evaluated everything and you realize that there's no one else to blame, you have to look within. You cannot run from self-reflection. It catches up with you no matter how much you run. Now, I'm staying on topic, but this is just an article. Ian Allen's page, 5 hours ago, posted, "Fire destroys classroom as Caripachima West Secondary. Suspicions fall on Form 5 students. Reports are emerging following a fire that destroyed 3 classrooms at Caripachima West Secondary School on Monday, March the 23rd, with claims circulating that Form 5 students may be responsible. However, up to this time, there has been no official confirmation from authorities regarding the cause of the blaze or who may be involved. The incident has raised concern among parents and the wider school community as investigations are expected to determine whether the fire was accidental or deliberately set." This is not to cast any aspersions. This is not to cast any blame. However, my mom used to say, if you're not there, your name don't call. If you are not there, your name wouldn't call. Good afternoon, caller.
Hi, good afternoon, Ms. Sandiford.
Hi, yes.
Hi. I will be super brief. I reminded one idea. You made a good point. If it wasn't in the mix, your name wouldn't call, but you all have so many great conversations emerging on this platform. Maybe you all could get someone to kind of document the important points, the summary points, and message it to the relevant communities. I really think that would be helpful towards promoting more change in the country itself.
Yes.
Because we have absolutely great conversations on this platform, but it should really reach them. So thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Wonderful program.
Thank you, my guy. Appreciate it. Now I'm going to tell you, I do this type of training and workshop as part of my own career coaching company. I do that. So for anyone, those community centers, those community, I don't want to say leaders, that's another connotation. Center managers, you have these types of programs, reach out to me and let's do something. Because the reality is you have to take the step, You have to take the step. Offer, at the very least, offer the opportunities and see how many people are going to be a part of it. So I'm going to go back. That article that I just read, again, it's being investigated. However, my point here is that the allegation is that Form 5 students are responsible for this. This is not a prestige school. So think of the demographic that's going to be in that community. So when you destroy, if that is the case, that they are found guilty, then what does that say? What argument do you as a parent put forward for these children to be reintegrated back with other students who are trying to learn? This is all I'm saying. It is one thing to argue over the child and the child, some of these children, the behaviors. Should it be that this is an effect of children's actions, it is saying a lot. It is telling. It is telling that it has to reach to a place where children are being accused of arson. It is dangerous for us to look the other way when this type of activity is happening. And you know what is unfortunate sometimes? When you speak to the parents of children who appear to be troubled, sometimes those parents are in tears. And they say, I'm trying my best. I am doing the best I can. I don't know what else to do. There isn't anything that I haven't provided. I talk as much as I could talk. They get licks. Take them to the church. I take them to the pastor. I try everything that I possibly can. But the same is true that you make children, but you don't make their mind. At the very least, if there's an effort to try to put things in place, if it fails, at the very least, the responsibility doesn't, or that type of responsibility no longer lies on you. The child at that point will have to learn for themselves that there are consequences to actions. And so the circumstances of life should not impact your outcome. What we call in sociology a self-fulfilling prophecy. There are many success stories, including mine. Unless I say, or share my background and my life story, many people wouldn't know. But where I am is a product of making a different decision, knowing and seeing the realities of my family, understanding that it is either I come out alive or I come out dead. And I know which one I don't want. So I'm saying, in this time, preparing for exams, regardless of the circumstance, having both parents, having grandparents, a supportive community, or having one parent only. At this stage, young people of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the Caribbean, you are old enough to make a decision. You are past the age of accountability, where you will answer to God for your decisions. You must use the tools that are available to you. Trinidad and Tobago has free education at this time. Note that there are Caribbean countries, our own Caribbean brothers and sisters, the students have to pay for secondary education. And I plead with you once again to take these few weeks as you prepare for exams and do it with all of your heart. Do it as though you are appreciative to God for what He has provided us with in Trinidad and Tobago. Regardless of how you see this country, we have to be doing something right to be where we are at this time. We must be grateful in everything. Yes, you may not like the way the country is going. You may not like a lot of things. But until you are in a position to fix it, you must use what you have and be thankful for it. We have free education. We have free resources at this time. Whether it is good enough or not is besides the point. But until you yourself can do better, you are urged to take this opportunity that you have, that your parents perhaps did not have available to them, and use it with all your heart. Do something better this year, young people of Trinidad and Tobago. There must be something. You may not be entirely academic, but if you can just get those 5, I'm now speaking to you as an HR professional. 5 passes is all you need to get maths, English, science, and get 2 more. Ensure that you are able to compete on the market so that you don't complain and say, well, this person have more than me, this person have family. And while that may be true, you must ensure that you would have presented yourself to take hold of the opportunities that were given to you just like everyone else. You are sitting the same exam as the rich, the poor, the Chinese, the East Indians, the Syrians, the Africans like yourself. You are sitting the same exam. You have the same opportunity at this point within the next few weeks. Do not mess this up. Do not mess this up. Your failure to prepare is your preparation for failure. Let us take it seriously, my friends. Let us take this seriously. Regardless of religion or whatever, you have no excuse when you sit in front of those exam papers. You are now on the same level. Use the tools that is available to you. For those of you who are in single parent households, do not make your parents' tears fall to the ground. Do not make their prayers hit the roof and fall back down because you are not accompanying your works with your faith. Don't expect to go to church for pastor or the religious leader to pray for you and it will just work like magic, because this is not magic. Answers to your prayers also needs to be combined with your actions. If you want something bad enough, you have to go after it with all of your heart. And I plead with you that if you want a better future and a better outcome, if you want to do better than your foreparents and your parents, you must take that step and do your best. For those, our young people that are getting ready to write SCA, this is also for you. You go in there and you do your best and pray for God's will to be done. Wherever He sends you is where you ought to be. You let your light shine regardless, and you give thanks to God regardless for this free opportunity that you have. Again, SCA students, this opportunity is free. Give it your best shot. This is not about competing. This is about making the best decision you can. And at this time, your only responsibility is to do this exam and pass. I hope you take what I say as an HR professional, as a career coach, and a host or a fellow host on this great program, The Third Empire. All-inclusive, family-oriented. We give values. We give lots of information. This program is for information sharing, to bring solutions. We make our jokes every now and then, but the end of it is to bring solutions that are workable and that can help you to be productive in the future. So my time is almost up. It was quite an engaging conversation, and I want to thank all of you for joining me on the Street 91.9. This was a fantastic session. I am happy and elated to be your host and your guest for this evening. And I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and that the team, of course, the team will see you tomorrow, please God. For those joining online, I thank all of you for your comments. I'm noting all of them. Reality, I'm saying hi to you. Neem, I'm saying hi to you as well. Thank you for all of your comments that you shared with me this evening. Thank you for staying with me. And I want to wish you a wonderful evening. You are locked onto the Street 91.9. Good evening to you.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
You want to find something great to do with your Tuesday nights? You want to learn and understand the true reason for Jesus? Then join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. for the program, This Same Jesus, the program that puts Jesus in his rightful place in our hearts and in our homes. Let's bring church home to you. Join us every Tuesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. with your hosts, Kempes and Kevin. Be inspired, be blessed.